I'm becoming a paid content creator within 10 months, and this is part one of that journey. I'm not starting completely from scratch. I've managed to get myself to almost 3,000 followers on Instagram and 7,000 followers on TikTok. I'm also a content creator by profession. That is what I do in my 9 to 5 job. But currently, I'm on vacation and I'm soon entering maternity leave. So for 10 months, I can now focus on my own content. Of course, my first priority is my child and staying present with her and being a great mom for the first time. But I also see this as a unique and very good opportunity to truly focus on my own content and make it as great as possible. I am posting kind of everywhere right now and I'm building my own personal brand. And the point of this video is to kind of get my personal brand together so that I can present myself the same way or look the same way kind of across all platforms so they know that the content comes from me. I'm posting on LinkedIn where I share more of a professional kind of content, things and learnings from my day-to-day job, and now I will do the same for my content, like share insights and learnings and all that kind of stuff. On TikTok and on Instagram, I share my journey towards financial freedom. I try to focus on being a little bit more like entertaining maybe on TikTok and then a little bit more educational on Instagram. But since I've done this like after my 9 to 5, I have posted mostly the same content and now I will try to separate it a bit more. On YouTube, I'm sharing my journey in long form content where I go more into depths for those who are interested in that. I also have a website for business purposes, making my own products and selling them there, having my portfolio. So there's a lot of platforms and there are a lot of different content, but I want them all to represent me and represent my personal brand that I'm now growing. So today I'm making like a presentation kind of in Canva to just put it all together, like different fonts, which colors I'm going to use, and just the overall vibe I want. I think a lot of content creators will say that this is not important to focus on, that you just have to pump out the content, but I beg to differ. I want it to be easy to make, I want it to be nice to look at, and I want it to scream my name. And this will make that a lot easier for me. The hard thing is to choose which direction to go in because there's so many beautiful styles and I feel like there's more than one that represents me and I also want to stand out. I've already started making kind of a style for my cover photos, making them more consistent and visually pleasing and easy to see what content it is, like a mini thumbnail. So I'm kind of onto something, but I think it can be a lot better. And now I have the time, so let's do it. So the first thing I want to look at is fonts because that's such a major part of my content because I make a lot of carousels, for example, on Instagram, and also that will be a big part of my LinkedIn posts. And here I tried a bunch of different fonts, as you can see here. I really love the Seasons. It's such a good, I like a classic yet a bit retro. I also really like it when it's cursive and I think you can play with that, but it is a bit thin and it doesn't really go well alone. So I've usually used it with a black background, but that can also be a bit harsh. I also really love the handwritten fonts and I struggled to kind of choose which to use. So I've used both. I've used all of these, and they are not that cohesive. So I need to kind of find maybe three fonts that fit together that I can use in different ways. And I really like the handwritten fonts. I think it gives it more of a personal vibe, and I really like to bend them around objects and stuff. And I think I will keep that because I have this idea that I also want to kind of draw myself on some of these posts that I can do with my iPad and my Apple Pencil. And also because I really like these handwritten, hand drawn elements that you can use to kind of make your point or make something stand out more. But then I also like the clipboard kind of vibe. So I found these, and maybe I can like put them together. Here is like drawn stuff, drawn elements. And then we have these clip art elements that are black and white that can kind of fit in. But then I'm lacking the color. You know, I love color. I not on myself, like I really enjoy dressing in black. Like around me, that you can kind of see in the background of my videos, I really like to be surrounded by color. I love color, and I also like retro colors. So I also like these kinds of stickers. So the question is, can I manage to combine these? And I don't really see another solution than to go for like a scrapbook style feed. And when I take that idea to Pinterest, I see that I absolutely love this style of content, but it's also kind of hard to do. You need a lot of pictures, you need a visual sense, and I have a graphic background, but I have never worked as a graphic designer. I went straight into content creation because that was what people needed. So I haven't really worked graphically since I went to university, and that is 7 years ago. But maybe I can manage to do a light version of this. These fonts are my favorite, which is most of the fonts I've already used. And I don't think they all go together, so I need to pick and choose, but it's so hard. I don't really know which one to skip because I need a sort of clear headline, and then I need a handwritten one to kind of go for the scrapbook effect. And then I need what I call a boring text font because sometimes you need to communicate and it has to be easy to read. So maybe we should just test it out. I think the easiest way to do that is to make one of the posts I make every month, which is a monthly recap post. And that post has looked a bit different. I really loved when I had the big headline. And then I think the latest one, which was for July, I actually think that was the most ugly one yet. So I need to find a way to make that post stand out again. This is why this is so hard, because there are so many cool ways to do stuff, and you need to find kind of one way to do it that you of course can play around with, but at the same time you need to kind of stick to that design. Okay, so let's try to do this post. I want it to be scrapbooky. I need to test out different fonts, and I need to kind of put in some different things. Okay, so in these posts, I want to summarize the month that has gone by, and for this example, I will use August. So maybe I will have the calendar as a background, and then I need tape elements to kind of use to hang it up or scrap it in the scrapbook. Then maybe I can add my newspaper article, or I was on an online newspaper article, just because that was kind of a highlight of August. Maybe I should add something to the calendar, like that our wedding day was at the 6th of August. I think I need to make a feed mock-up so that I can put it in and see if it fits. So I played around for a while now, and I think I've concluded with that I love the scrapbook effect and I want to do that, but it's really hard to choose and to do it visually pleasing, but I think I'm onto something. I've also tested the different fonts and I've narrowed it down to these three, the Seasons, Gentleman's Script, and Open Source. I also see a potential of using these elements in my video editing because I can use Canva and then I can just save it as a PNG without a background and edit it into my videos. I actually love how the check-in or reset post, monthly reset post turned out. I think it was great to add kind of a personal note with the wedding day being the 6th of August, adding that to the calendar, and also putting my most listened to song, just like a bit of personality. So I'm not really that personal or private in my content. If you look past the fact that I share my finances, of course, and people think that is very private, but I think that needs to be talked more about. But then I give like a little insight into who I am and what I listen to and stuff like that. And I really recommend this song, of course, that is my most listened to in August. It's by a Norwegian band, High as a Kite. They are really good, and I think I like every single song, and that is very rare. The only other thing that I could add right now is a color palette, but I think both my text and my elements will be sort of neutral colors, like mostly black and white. And then I have these other stickers that will be a pop of color sometimes, and they can be very bright and cool, and I can kind of maybe match it with something in the background, because I think that the image that I will choose as the cover photo will kind of be the colors of my feed. Now we'll try to make a graphic image for my new LinkedIn post, and it's really easy for me to just have this document in another tab and go there and copy the text and the elements to use. This will be life-changing for me. This makes it so easy. What I've also made now is an introduction for me to add to my YouTube videos, especially when I'm making financial content. I think it's nice to have like an introduction of what you own and what's your status right now, but maybe not introduce it every time, because people tend to not love introductions and then they click off. So just something I can add on screen that also is cohesive with my other content right now. I will also bring this new vibe into my thumbnails, and I guess this video will be the first one to have that style. So very exciting to see how that goes. I've also now made different projects in Canva so that I can have one project for my front covers, one for LinkedIn, one for YouTube thumbnails, and one feed mockup and stuff like that, and separate it that way. And then I can always open the personal branding, the presentation, which I've now added the fonts that I want to use, and the clip art and the elements and all that kind of stuff. And that will hopefully get me a cohesive personal brand all over my social media. It will be very interesting to see if this has some form of effect on my growth. I do think that it can have that, and I think it also will be better to have it cohesive and fit together, and also make the process of making content and carousels, especially in LinkedIn posts, a lot easier. And I'm becoming a mom now, so the process needs to be effective, but also fun. And I think I've managed to do just that right now. I will keep you updated on my journey to become a paid content creator within these next 10 months. And this was part 1. And hopefully we can do it together. That would be a lot of fun. I would love to follow some fellow content creators on Instagram and TikTok. So if you have an account that you want to show off, please comment it below and I will follow you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.